check.
Check.
Hello?
Allie, you want to do a quick mic check?
Is it on?
I find that when she's empty, it doesn't go real well.
We're in business.
Came out full set.
Yeah. Holy moly.
Oh, cabins all around.
Good evening. Welcome to the Raymond School District number 14 regular school board meeting for this January 20th, 2025. This meeting is now called to order. It is 6:31. Please rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance with me. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We move to verification of public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statute.
Get a roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm leaping ahead here. Okay, Ally, roll call, please.
Audrey Kostick,
I'm here.
Patty Wren,
Here.
Mike Powers,
Here.
Janelle Wise,
Here.
Ed Robinson.
Here.
Thank you, Ally. Now we move to verification of public notice pursuant to 19.841 Wisconsin statute.
The meeting was posted in all the usual spots, which is the schoolhouse doors, down the street at the village hall, as well as Evergent, and online. We notified the press.
Okay, we move to approve the agenda for this meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved. I second it.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda for this meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to consent agenda. We will need a motion to approve after the review of the regular minutes. I trust that you got your packets and reviewed the regular minutes and the board workshop meeting minutes of 1/6/25. Is there a motion to approve?
I move to approve the regular meeting minutes and the board workshop meeting minutes.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the regular meeting minutes from 12/17/25 and the board workshop meeting minutes from 1/6/25. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We move to business and finance, and first up is financial report, treasurer's report.
Okay, so our beginning balance was $413,400.82. Our accounts payable was $615,648.40. Our receipts were $302,564.26. Payroll disbursements, $198,774.49. Our journal entries were at $511,886.20. $858.63, leaving us an ending balance of a negative $98,457.81. Before we move to approve these treasurer's report, I was kind of nervous about this. I talked to Pete and Mike, and they gladly kind of shared with me and went through it. So I asked Pete to go ahead and explain this away to everybody.
All right, so by looking at it now, you'd say that we are almost $100,000 overdrawn. That is what Skyward, our software, says, because we ran our check run the early part of January, and then post-dated the checks back to December. So posted them in December. They were all paid in January, but the bills that should be paid in December were then posted in December 31st. So although it looks like we're 100,000 in the hole, we actually have 1.2 million sitting in our bank account. So that's why I needed to explain. The bills were on the books in December. The deposits weren't made until January.
So with that, I move to approve the treasurer's report.
I'll second.
A motion and a second to approve the treasurer's report. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are you moving on to vouchers and payroll, or?
Well, as listed in the itinerary, the various payroll checks, accounts payable checks, and et cetera are listed in the agenda.
And we need a motion to approve.
I move to approve the vouchers and payroll.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve vouchers and payroll. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Oops, I don't have my thing on. Sorry about that. Okay, we move to the fun part of this meeting, and we have the fourth grade social studies project of Log Cabin.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out on this frigid evening. So frigid that tomorrow we don't have school. Pretty cold. But thank you, fourth graders, for, I hope your log cabins would hold up in these elements, quite frankly, because I think it's really cold in Wisconsin, right? So fourth grade, one of the units they focus on is the state of Wisconsin. And the staff could not be here tonight, but they are sending their best and brightest here to show off their cabins. I have a little video that I'll play before they present, and then we'll turn it over to a little microphone. You can come up and kind of talk us through your wonderful designs, and then we're going to see if they hold up in these elements. So thank you all of our brave fourth graders for coming out, and just give me a moment here while I cue up our intro.
Hi, I'm Judy Radovich, and I'm Melissa Weber, and we just want to let you know about some of the fun things that we are doing in fourth grade this year. We really have a lot of fun with this age group, and we love the curriculum because it's very exciting to us, especially our work in social studies. This year, students learn about our great state of Wisconsin. We start with the Ice Age and learn about the geography and why we have the 5 regions and how they are different. We then learn about the Native American tribes that lived on this land before the Europeans started to explore here.
We learn about Jean Nicolet and other French explorers and their relationships with the Native Americans. We just finished studying about the fur trade era and how this was an important time to both the white settlers and the Native Americans.
We will continue to learn about Wisconsin's government and Wisconsin's agriculture, as well as look at the Midwest states as a whole. But through all this, we will also read books to the students. We like to read books that catch the students' imagination, yet also connect to what we're learning in our classrooms.
One of these books we all enjoy in fourth grade is Little House in the Big Woods by Laura Ingalls Wilder. This story was written from Laura's perspective and tells the story of when she was a little girl living in Wisconsin in the 1870s with her family in a little log cabin, as many American pioneers did at that time.
Students learned so much about what life was like, including how people would get their food, challenges they faced during each season of the year, what kind of old-fashioned fun they'd enjoy, and simply
fish cabins together in the classroom and created a winter classroom display with artificial snow and lights.
Now, you will hear from a few students who are here tonight to explain the process of making their log cabins and the fun they had with their families.
Hi, I'm Trader Fail, and I'm in 4th grade. And I'd like to talk about my log cabin. All the materials that I use are from our backyard. I chose hickory bark for the cabin siding and cedar bark for the roof. The chimney and the decorations are acorns, walnuts, sticks, leaves, and pine cones. A funny thing that happened is that when I was gluing, the roof kept sliding off, so I was holding the roof for a very long time. From that, I learned 1, you need a lot of patience, 2, you need the right materials, and 3, you need to make plans. Thank you.
Nice job. I feel like my roof is doing the same thing sometimes, just sliding off the house.
Hi, I'm Monroe Arnett, and I'm here to introduce my log cabin. I use these sticks from my backyard too, and we used to cut them to get them to right shape, and we had to cut some of the other ones because they were a little bit too long for the door and other stuff. And we used the shingles from extra doll houses and from my grandpa because he makes doll houses. And we used something else for the blue part of the house, which was we were actually going to put a wreath on it, but we couldn't find any small wreaths, so which actually was really sad. But we did also get like glue on snow that we could go around the house like that and go around the roof, which my mom actually did. And a fun fact about the trees, you can actually bend them whichever way you want, which is actually kind of funny because also other ones can do that too from doll houses. And the cardboard at the back on the bottom of it is really funny. It's also like a rotisserie chicken, basically, on the under part of it. So
Nice work. Someone in the house must make dollhouses if you have extra dollhouse parts, so that's good.
I'm Lincoln Byrne. For the sticks, I used weeds, dead stems, and cut them up and glued them on with hot glue, and the gravels from our driveway to make that driveway. The pond is just a bunch of hot glue piled up. The snow on the ground is just ripped up paper towel. The snow on the roof is like ripped up cotton balls. And the trees is just sticks from pine trees. And then we colored the cotton balls with face chalk.
Excellent work, looks great. Again, project-based learning at its finest. It's great to see students working, and as you heard too, it's kind of a family affair sometimes. You know, moms and dads, parents, families can help out with that. I myself have been up many a late night sometimes because it's due tomorrow, of course, when you find out. So congratulations. One more round of applause for our fourth graders. Awesome. And obviously, it's a cold, well, it's not really a school night, so you can stay up as late as you want tonight, kids, but if they want to leave, they can. It's up to them, and bear the cold weather outside. So thanks for coming, though. Great job. Awesome.
Thank you, fourth graders. Okay, we move to the public portion of this meeting. Members of the public wishing to speak must fill out a form before the meeting starts. Patty, do you have
Jennifer Hansen.
You always call me first. It's okay. I'm just teasing you.
You must fill out your form first.
Not necessarily. Maybe I just have a friendly face.
That's right.
Okay, so my name is Jennifer Hansen. My family has lived in this community for 22 years. Both of my children attended Raymond from kindergarten through 8th grade. And while they were here as students, I had the honor of serving on the PTO board. But this talk tonight is not about my family, but about the open enrollment families that were such a positive addition to the Raymond School District from 2004 to 2015 when we were here. Not only did the OE students add some extra money into the school district's budget, but the students added something special into every classroom, club, team, and friend group that they were part of here at Raymond. Their parents were special too. They chose to drive their students twice a day to attend Raymond School because they had done their research and knew it was the right environment for their students. They were active in helping out in classrooms, they chaperoned field trips, and they helped out at the PTO spaghetti dinner and spent money at the annual auction on that day as well. These were families that, even though they didn't get a vote for the school board, they trusted this community to make the right decisions for the school. Open enrollment has been a part of the Wisconsin schools since 1998 after the passing of Act 27 in 1997. And I know that there are people on Facebook and Nextdoor saying that open enrollment kids are the problems from the other side of the aisle, but I have not seen this. These are families that have committed a lot of time and effort to have their kids in our district. And right now with the news article this morning talking about the mismanagement of funds and the school board asking us for a referendum, we really need more money in this district. At the meeting on the 6th of January, I know Mr. Leach had mentioned that we have room to still keep class sizes reasonable, but allow anywhere from 20 to 57 OE kids into the district. While the money is needed and would help the district, let's also keep in mind the other things these kids and their families can bring to the district. New ideas for extracurricular clubs, athletes to add fun new teammates to our Panther teams, musicians to join the band and voices to add to the choruses, families to help with fundraisers and help out in classrooms, and active learners making Raymond School even better. I'm asking the board tonight to set open enrollment numbers at a much higher number than last year. Let's welcome new families to our Raymond District family. Thank you.
Jeff Peterson.
Thank you. I would quite simply like to point out, as a former student, teacher, principal, and resident, that my observations over the last several months have me concerned for the Raymond School community. Community loosely means feeling a fellowship of others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. I think we can all agree that the common interest we share is that Raymond School exists for the growth of students. I'm concerned that the school board has been spending the last several months indoctrinating the taxpayers of Raymond into believing that they have been trying to right the ship of this small community school. On a regular basis, their grooming behaviors appear to indicate that they too want to heal a community and build a strong, sustainable school. Unfortunately, what I have seen is that they sexualize the lack of transparency and promote their message filled with fake news regarding the financial concerns of the district. The intent is to urge you toward voting for an operational referendum to save the school from their term, a broken school funding formula. In fact, checking the numbers, this district's revenue has received historic increases in per pupil spending. I urge the taxpayers, many of whom are my former neighbors, 4-H leaders, classmates, and friends, to save the school from the board's woke agenda. I wonder if board members have considered resigning from their position to avoid additional chaos and just move on. I'd like to confirm my statement from last month. This district has spent fees paid to an attorney and to an insurance company to block me from accessing my retirement funds. According to the vendor check report, one attorney billed the district referencing WRS retirement. Another attorney paid for by the district's insurance company appeared at a pre-hearing conference on behalf of the district. Whether you pay an attorney directly or you pay an insurance company to pay an attorney, it's the same to me. I continue to question why you are spending money fighting for something that is of no cost to the district. This clearly indicates a loss of purpose for why you exist. I understand that my opening statements use some very inflammatory and offensive words. I'm going to remind you that those same words, sexualized, woke, grooming, indoctrinating, and worse, were used to describe me as a human being in propaganda shared about me in the last few months. I urge you to return to a focus on what an educated, to be what they dream about, even if it's a dream about being a teacher and principal in the school they grew up. Thank you.
Thank you. Last is DeRay Moonen.
Before I start talking, I would like to make a request from everybody in the audience that you please use your microphones, and when you have a microphone, turn it on, speak into the microphone, because many people are not able to hear what's going on. Most of the stuff you said, other than what Mr. Leach said, people couldn't hear. And this is a request. So now I'm going to start talking. I want to talk about the finances and the fact that the budget was not, I'd like to know what you approved in the budget last year when it shows in the audit that there clearly wasn't a budget that you followed. There was a pile of money and you continue to spend money and spend money and spend money and never once looked at any of the line items that would have told you how much you were allowed to spend in each line item. You never changed anything to move money. You just kept spending and spending and spending and spending. I'm looking at some of the expenditures over the budget amounts, and it floored me that you had stood up in front of us and reorganized the office, just putting someone in the position instead of posting it. The excuse was, well, most people won't work for $65,000 a year. Well, you know what? I could have given you at least a dozen people who would have come and interviewed for that position, who wanted the position, who are willing to work for the position and dig and make things better. Right now, I feel really sorry for Debbie Peterson because it looks like she made all these mistakes, even though I know she didn't. But she's the one doing the corrective actions that she's being asked to look into. That to me says that you got somebody in at the beginning of the month, and by the time the budget came out, the final budget came out from the auditors, you had somebody's name to put in there, and I think that's very disrespectful to her. And I'm looking at the loans that have been going out and the dates that are being used. We normally borrow money in August, and you're talking about September, and the fact that nobody really understood, and it was never said that you didn't pay the loan back in August of this year, but somehow you got an extension for that loan, and that's what you're going to pay off. That's something that the people in this school district should know. It should be clearly stated what was going on. Because I worked in the banking industry, I worked as a loan officer, and I happen to know that a short-term loan is less than a year.
Time.
That's it?
Okay, we're moving on to old business. Can you hear me?
Move a little closer.
Old business. Can you hear me?
Okay.
So, first up is reviewing the plan for the 23-24 line of credit extension payoff. Application for new 2024-2025 line of credit. Mike?
Yes. I appreciate Ms. Moonen bringing this up because it's an important topic tonight that is being called out specifically as we sit here now. We now know all the details to things, and I say that now because it sort of happened quickly from fall, October, mid-October to now. So what had happened was in September, normally we're on a cycle to pay off our short-term loan. The loan did not get paid. We used some of the loan monies to pay other bills from the summer. We definitely have to improve our processes, as you can see and you'll hear tonight from our auditor, recommendations that will improve those processes. But the bank was amazing and said instead of putting the school in a financial position while also facing a referendum, they wanted us to be able to focus our efforts on the referendum and trying to get that to pass. So the bank offered the concept of a credit extension. And so it was originally the same loan, just all we did was accrue additional interest the few months that it was extending. And what I'm looking for tonight is for the board to give me the ability to wrap up that loan and pay it off. We received our tax distribution in January, which is our largest tax distribution of the school year. And we are then able to pay that off. It's about $1,080,000, so a little bit over $1 million. We do receive an additional payout in February of about $500,000. So when it's all timed out, our cash flow should not be impacted. That's the goal. As you saw, cash flow is one of those things that flow month to month here. So our cash flow it's been a challenge for sure. We do not have the proper cash flow to carry us through a year. That's why we have to short-term borrow. We've been short-term borrowing for many years. It got messy this year, and it's certainly a place we don't want to be as a school district. But given that, and trying to be on the front end of this planning ahead, we are paying off the loan, and then we are reestablishing a line of credit, a new line for 24-25, which is the current school year we're in. The loan would be for 6 months, which is the half of our normal term, and that's to get us back onto the September cycle that we were on before. Because normally it was September to September. Right now we're off cycle completely from that. So again, the report kind of outlines it a little bit. There was a couple of articles have been written, but one was written by the Racine Journal-Times that kind of outlined some of these things last month, and then there's been other comments made by other local papers, which is helpful, gets the word out there. So I think it's important that the public understand what happened here. There was not a default. We are not bankrupt. We are not going bankrupt. Those are all important things that I want to tell the public right now. But we definitely had an extension on something that we needed an extension on that was offered by the bank, and I'm thankful for that. So again, given the financial challenges, we want to make sure that we are always able to pay our bills in a timely fashion, and that's what this solution represents. So looking for a resolution or approval for me to pay off the line of credit extension and then apply for, we have not obtained yet, but apply for the 24-25 line of credit. On September 16th, the board received the statement from the bank initially saying that we would like to enter into a $1.2 million agreement with them, and then all of these other steps fell into place in the meantime. So it was already approved in September that the board would authorize us to borrow, but I wanted to call it out again because it's been a very non-traditional way to get to this point. So it's my recommendation we continue to work with Community State Bank to provide the extension, pay off the existing note, and re-enter into a line of credit agreement for the next 6 months, and then continue in the fall of 2025 with a line of credit for next year for the following school year, 25-26. So asking for the board to make a motion to approve, and the language is in your packet. Any questions from the board?
So I move to approve the administration to submit the payoff of the extension of our LOC for 23-24 and continue to work with the bank to renegotiate a line. Oh, shoot, I'm sorry. I'll start over. Now, can you hear me now? Sorry, I apologize. I move to approve the administration to submit the payoff of the extension of our LOC for 2023-24 and continue to work with the bank to renegotiate a line of credit for $1.2 million for 6 months until October 2025.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the administration to submit the payoff of the extension of our line of credit for 2023-2024 and continue to work with the bank to negotiate a line of credit for $1.2 million for 6 months until October 2025. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I do wish to add one more interesting piece that with the referendum discussion tonight, just because we're borrowing $1.2 million for the purpose of bridging our month-to-month expenses, this does not help this has nothing to do with our operating budget and the deficit that we are in. This is merely money that helps us flow across the months that we're paid in accordance with when DPI gives us money. So we don't have enough money. We don't get a check at the beginning of the school year and it carries us through the school year. It's paid at different points: August, January, February, March, and June, and then again in August. So there's a unique cycle that in between we have to make sure we have enough cash flow. So this is not addressing the budget deficit. This is money used for cash flow purposes. That's why it's a line of credit, and it's a line of credit that we borrow on as we need it. We're not given the money in a lump sum. It's borrowed as we go.
And that gets paid back right away.
And it gets paid back before the next year, typically, yes.
Which is why we want to build up our fund balance.
Which is why we need to address our fund balance issue, because the board policy is written to have a fund balance as high as it can be so that you don't need to short-term borrow. But the less you have in your fund balance, the more you need to make sure you have the cash reserve. And now you're also seeing with a low fund balance, it doesn't make you the best profile for lending to other agencies. So that's part of what got us into this position. So
And we're also spending money on interest.
yes, we are spending money on interest, yes. So thank you.
Okay, moving on to new business. The auditor report of the financial statement 23-24 year. Oh, you're
Yes.
here. Hello? Can everyone hear me?
Push the button.
Is that better?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. I just put together a brief summary of the audit from 2023-24 fiscal year. The general fund had a decrease of $707,195. The debt service fund decreased $1,296. Fund 21 is the gift fund. That increased $2,269, and the capital projects fund was closed. In going through the audit report, the budgets for the general fund, the revenues were $172,000 greater than were budgeted for. Expenditures were $747,000 more than were budgeted.
I could have this up on?
I'm sorry?
Could I have this on a specific page to show this?
The best page to go to is probably page 6 or 7. Oh, we have management discussions and analysis. Let me look at the audit report and I'll tell you right away. At page 18. Keep going.
Like another page?
2 more pages. 3 more pages. Okay, so that's our ending fund balances at the end of the year. In the back, we have a budget to actual for the general fund and a budget to actual for the special education fund, where that would be on page 49 and 50. Total revenues for special education were $34,000 higher than anticipated, and total expenses for special education were $47,422 greater than budget. It appears that the district budgeted for salaries in all functions, but we were not able to locate appropriate budgets for corresponding benefits, particularly health insurance and other benefits, dental. So during the budgeting process, we would recommend that the board go on a line item basis and do comparisons to the prior year when they're doing their budget.
During the 2024 fiscal year, the district did not incur any additional long-term debt. The district paid $131,863 in long-term principal, leaving a balance of $1,142,275 at year end. During the audit, we noted no instances of fraudulent activity. That doesn't mean that fraud is not occurring. It means that we performed required testing and we found no indications of fraudulent activity. The audit report was a clean report, meaning that the district is in compliance. The reports were submitted timely to the Department of Public Instruction during the year. During 23-24, the district was required to have a federal single audit, which is required for all entities that receive greater than $750,000 in federal funds in 1 year. So an additional report was required to the federal government. It's called the data collection form. We will be finishing that up this week for the district certification. We have until the end of March to make that deadline.
Does that include COVID money?
Yes.
Programming at the high school. I mean, students will, head wherever they're going to go for high school after here, and we want that to be involved, engaged kids. And the kids who are part of the open enrollment program, by and large, parents have chosen to be here. They've researched our school. They want to be here, and they want to be engaged. And a lot of them drive longer than they probably should have to get to school, but they choose to do that. So there's definitely a positive to it. There's tricks to everything, though. I think when kids come in, they've all got different personalities and backstories, but at the same time, I think it ends up with a net positive for us.
I know the open enroll is a very tricky thing with our constituents in this community because a lot of them are for it and a lot of them don't want it. And we're torn bad. The one thing I just want, obviously I'm learning that we need the money. I hate to put price tags on children and saying, oh, they're worth this, oh, they're worth that. But in our situation right now, it's kind of a needed thing that we have to have these students to be able to come in and fill the seats. But I just want, like, the people in the community to know that, like you say, we're not going to get 51 students more than likely. It's almost like hitting a lottery ticket if we're going to hit that 51 or in 33 or whatever the number would be compared to the 6 from last year. So, it's not that we're trying to push open enrollment and go for all this, but, we're trying to balance that. And like you say, we're trying to get that right number, right balance, and we're probably going to get hopefully 20, not 50.
Well, and the math on it, 20 students times about $9,000 is $180,000 worth of revenue. If we were to get some magic strike of, something larger than that, that just chips away at the deficit that we're facing for next year. So if we suddenly get, 40, then it's 40 times 9,000, so you're talking $360,000 in revenue. Again, we're doing this conservatively because we don't want this to be our plan, but certainly we want to make sure we have our classrooms full and we're educating as many kids as we can here while we're, working through our budget.
I think when you look at the split, it's like a 65-35-ish split. It was hard to track all the numbers, but roughly 65% of the population is resident students, 35. I know that's been a question that has been asked.
Depending on grade level?
Yeah.
Definitely. It depends.
Yeah.
There are some families that try us on through open enrollment and then they try to find a house here because they fall in love with Raymond and they realize what a great place it is. So there's lots of stories behind each of these numbers.
I've known families too that have lived here and sent their kids to school here and have to move for whatever reason and couldn't break up with Raymond, and so they become an open enrollment student through that process as well. So.
I think I'd also like to parrot Jennifer's comment about the parents investing in their students' education. When you have a child and you're raising it, you want to give it the best education you can find, and many of these parents are in that dilemma that the school, that district they live in, is not offering enough. and so therefore they look elsewhere. And we have been fortunate to be that good school that parents want to bring their kids to. My granddaughters are open enrolled, and I'm happy that they're here. The alternative is not where I'd like them to go to school, so.
But keep in mind too, that this seems like a pretty large influx compared to some years past, especially last year, juxtaposed to this year. This doesn't mean this is going to be the trend we do every year based on our population. If we maintain and we retain students and our program continues to thrive and we add a few residents and we grow and we maintain our population above where we are, the board considers this every year as to how it impacts our budget. So I mean, it's definitely something that's important to look at. It doesn't mean this is going to be an every year number that we face. We had a good number of students leave last year given the things that happened. It was a challenging year all around. And so I think that plays into this. I also think the number we accepted was different than we probably should have. But again, those are all impact pieces that get us to this point. And then next year, we have to, again, look at all the data, see what's in front of us, see what budget, assistance this could give or not. And again, when the decision was made last year, we had a budget we thought was a surplus. So sitting in a surplus position, why would you take on more open enrollment students? But turns out we weren't in that position. And fast forward a year and here we are. So.
I think, and knowing last year's number was quite low, prior years had included K4, and you typically have a larger number in K4. So I think last year's number also looked somewhat artificially low. I was not at the meeting when it was voted on. I was out of town during that one, so not to not take accountability. But there were a couple of things, a lot of things obviously happening last year. Things were moving fast, and again, then not including K4, I think also skewed that number lower than what it truly ended up being. I think maybe the year prior we had like 76 open enrollment students. So I think it's a balance in making sure that we have, going back to the audit, real numbers and accurate numbers in front of us so that we know that we're making the most informed decision here is going to be crucial go forward. So.
Well, if there's no further discussion, I'd like to move that we approve 51 regular education seats for open enrollment as broken down and listed in the chart on the board. I do have a number of kids here that are open enrolled, grandkids, not kids, thank God. But, so.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. So now we move to the referendum question.
Yes, so we had some discussion in our workshop to talk through some of the rationale and the scenarios related to our budget. If you recall, there were two budgets that were presented. One was the deficit budget without a past referendum, and the number is about $433,000. And then there was the scenario, okay, is 750 the right number? And what does that do for us with a 3-year commitment? And the board, through discussion as well as discussion with Baird Financial, we came to the fruition that we need to have a $750,000 referendum for 3 years, non-recurring, so it will fall off after 3 years. It is not given in a lump sum. It's $2.25 million total, but it's each year $750,000 for 3 years. So it's different than the referendum that was just passed at the high school, which was a bond issuance for $34.9 million or whatever that ended up being. So different referendum entirely. There were also some confusions with the public that have kind of mentioned through our feedback that this was somehow related to the past referendum for $14 million for an addition. That is not the case. This has nothing to do with an addition. I kind of wish it did. It'd be a little easier to kind of sell and propose these wonderful changes, but this is operational. This is for us to keep our lights on, for us to additionally plan to debt the fees and pay down some debts, as well as build our fund balance, as you heard that we are not in a healthy position with our fund balance. So that is strictly what this recommendation is. $750,000 for 3 years for non-recurring purposes. So there's some unique language that has to be read in, or motions have to be approved as they're written for the purposes. There's 2 resolutions.
You weren't working, I don't think.
I wasn't working?
Yeah, you are.
Okay. So there's 2 resolutions. The first resolution would be authorizing the school district budget to exceed the revenue limit by $750,000 per year for 3 years. And then the second motion could be read as a separate motion. Unless there, I don't want to run this and you got discussion can ensue here at this point.
Any thoughts? Excuse me, any thoughts?
I think to go along with our earlier discussion, certainly understanding there were budget errors made last year. Our, without the ESSER funds this year, our expenditures would have been exceeding our revenue, and we would have been depleting our fund balance at a pretty significant rate this year. So, yes, we entered into this year in a tougher situation than what we anticipated. We still were in a situation where we were going to be needing a referendum in order to maintain a healthy fund balance, is my understanding. Is that accurate?
Yes.
So just want to, again, continue to clarify, knowing that we had the conversation earlier where like, hey, we have some opportunities with the budget that, as it occurred last year, certainly understand that and certainly understand that expedited the fund balance being drained. That fund balance draining would have occurred this year because of our funding model and where we are. So separating the 2 issues, though I know they are connected in some ways, but there are also separate issues, right? And so the operational referendum is to try and maintain that fund balance and build it back up while continuing to look for ways to drive financial efficiencies in the district.
I had a conversation with a parent today, just kind of trying to wrap my hands, or help them wrap their hands around this. And the analogy I used was, if we were a brand new school opening our doors next year, our revenue does not suffice to our expenditures. It's that simple. Complex, though, is we don't have the reserve, and there's reasons for that, yes, but we don't have the reserve to help offset that deficit. The cost of things has gone way up. It just has. And so it's anyone that has a business knows the feelings of those things. So simply put, we just don't have the revenue to match our expenditures. So we can reduce our expenditures, and we will, and we have reduced our expenditures from last year to this year, and this year to next year we will. But when you look at the 2 scenarios, these were discussed in the workshop. Raymond in the black is the first scenario here. This is on our website and available to people to see if they'd like. If you look at this though, right now, if we just run ourselves in the black, we do have to reduce by, a significant amount of money. Again, when you look at what the referendum would provide us, it provides us a much cleaner future pathway that not only grows our fund balance, but allows us to pay down with the extra funds the current state trust fund loan that we took out. So again, these are documents that we used through our discussions on the 6th, and the board had a chance to take a look at. And these are sort of the 2 driving documents for the referendum situation.
So this really gives us the opportunity. It's a 3-year, 750 versus in November, it was 4 years for 750. Gives us the opportunity with the referendum, with like the intention behind it is maintaining the current offerings and maintaining kind of that stable school environment, right? So
yes,
even the conversation we just had with open enrollment, they know what to expect, in the offerings that we have here will be the offerings, similarly that we'll have
moving
next
forward.
year, if not more, right? allows us to repair our fund balance over time, helps us pay down our debts.
Allows us to, our teachers were in a salary freeze last year. It would allow us some funds to be able to give salary increases to our staff to keep us in a competitive range for, in a job market that is shifting beneath our feet in education with shortages of employees. It also allows us to offer the benefits that we currently offer for our employees without having to make a whole lot of changes to those, which have already changed over the years. So there's a lot of things that will stabilize and be offered as a result of this. I know it's an ask, for sure. It's a request of a community that, you know, times are definitely tight. And I'm a taxpayer myself too, and it's one of those things you have to weigh and balance. But I feel like when you also see us compared, and we will, as we go out in the community and share the information with our community, it's important to just realize that I feel like our ask is a reasonable $750,000. There are some that are $3, $4, $5, $7 million for districts down the road that are similar size to us. So I feel like it's not asking a number that's so large that it's makes you kind of cough as you read it. And it's 3 years is just that, 36 months. So.
Right, you said earlier, part of the con in this is though the negative side of it, I shouldn't say con. The negative side of this and not having this be an operational referendum and not a capital referendum. So at the end of this, we're not gonna have a flashy new building. But at the end of this, we'll have a healthy fund balance. We'll be able to continue to invest in the extracurriculars and the education of our students. Some of those things that we talked about earlier, the cybersecurity risks that are out there. We also know we do have a somewhat aging facility, though we've gotten really creative with addressing some of that with boiler repairs and different tests and addressing some of the restroom deficiencies. But we want to make sure we have a plan to maintain that on the regular. And so this helps address some of those things. So while we might not have a shiny new building at the end of this, I think we do have a much stable environment that we can be confident in the education of our kids and the building in which they're being educated in. Now, it doesn't nearly address everything that the building's deficient in, but it helps create that future plan or make that future plan potentially more feasible.
I believe our school district is not the only one going through this right now. I believe Waterford is still fighting their operational again. Burlington, RUSD, I mean, the only one I haven't heard is the past.
You gotta talk a little louder.
I'm talking loud, it's just not working on this. But as I was saying, just about every different school district surrounding us, minus Eden Grove, who had just passed their capital referendum, is looking into an operational referendum of some sort this coming year. So it's not just us that's going through that. But as pointed out to us earlier, we were getting a record amount of money that's never been paid out for students this year, but it's just not enough, correct, to be able to pay for all the stuff and all the increases in other areas that have been coming out. So we may be getting more money per student, but it's not keeping up with the cost of electricity, the cost of living, the cost of this, the cost of that.
Correct.
I motion to approve the resolution providing for a referendum election on the question of the approval of the resolution authorizing the school district budget to exceed revenue limits by $750,000 per year for 3 years for non-reoccurring purposes. Am I continuing to read? Yeah.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution providing for the referendum election question for the school district budget to exceed revenue limit by $750,000 per year for 3 years for non-recurring purposes. We need to read the resolution.
That's the first resolution we have to do. We should do a roll call vote.
Okay. All right. Any other discussion before we take a roll call? Ally?
Audrey Costick,
Yes.
Ed Robinson,
Yes.
Patty Wren,
Yes.
Janelle Wise,
Yes.
Mike Powers.
Yes.
So motion carries. Any opposed? No. Okay. So, be it resolved, the School Board of School District Number 14, Village of Raymond, Racine County, Wisconsin, that the revenues included in the school district budget be authorized to exceed the revenue limit specified in section 121.91 Wisconsin statutes by $750,000 per year for 3 years, beginning with the 2025-2026 school year and ending with the 2027-28 school year for non-reoccurring purposes consisting of operational expenses.
So that would be the language that is the exact ballot question.
Right.
It says village, not town.
It does say village, not town. We're working that through.
Okay. What's our next?
I'll make a motion to approve as read.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second to approve as it was read. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion
I
carries.
think, why don't we do a roll call of that one as well?
Okay.
Just to be on the safe side.
Audrey Costick,
Yes?
Janelle Wise,
Yes.
Mike Powers,
Yes.
Ed Robinson,
Yes.
Patty Wren.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So we do plan to offer information sessions in the coming future. Now that we've got a question that is identified, and we'll have that schedule put out and provided to the community as soon as possible. April 1st is the election.
Okay, moving on.
Crazy.
Approval of calendar for the 2025-2026 school year.
Yes. We have a calendar proposal, and it looks pretty much like other years. There's a slight change, reduction of 1 day of teacher time as well as student time. When we looked at our number of minutes and the number of days we had, although I'm saying this on the eve of a day we don't have school the next day, we did bake in for next year 2 snow events or cold weather events before we would have to start to come up with different changes to our minutes. But the process we used here was a staff survey. Staff gave their feedback. We really appreciated their insights. We worked with the other 4 districts around us, the high school and the 3 others that work with us, to collaborate and figure out what made sense. Sports kind of rules the day for the high school, so some of those adjustments that were made were based off of sporting events and things that were already on the calendar. And so what we've got a proposal for is the calendar that is draft that's been shared. And like I said, it just, the other thing was we wanted to try to get ourselves out as early in June as possible for the purpose of, having as much summertime, beautiful weather when it's not -9 outside. And carrying into the next week was something that we tried to do to not engage in. So we were able to shorten up the schedule, change a little bit of our professional development schedule offerings, and the proposal is in front of you for approval tonight.
I know you talked us through this in the workshop, but it sounds like you took in a lot of input from staff and tried to accommodate their, obviously,
Yes.
collaboration with the local schools where often there are siblings that attended, certainly much appreciated. So I make a motion to approve the calendar for the 25-26 school year as indicated in the draft of the calendar.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the calendar for the 2025-2026 school year. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move to the Wisconsin Association of School Board State Convention resolutions. And direct Mike Powers to vote at the convention on Wednesday. Anything you need to add to that, Mike?
No, I think we talked through a few potential areas that Mike was going to ask some questions at the workshop, just about clarifying pieces. Some of them are related to funding, which I'm curious to see where those things go, which was a positive thing. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good conference that's coming up in the next couple of days. It's up in Milwaukee, so we're sending a couple of us there, and Mike will be there for the resolutions portion. So
we're looking for a motion to approve the resolutions that were discussed in the workshop and as written in the proposed that was submitted by administration. Mike Powers will represent the school district at the WASB work session later this week. Do we have a motion?
I motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolutions for Mike Powers to represent at our school district. Any other discussion?
I just, one interesting piece here I'm just pulling up. The mention of cybersecurity, one of the resolutions is examining funding for cybersecurity for school districts because it is an increasing issue and it's not one that's typically baked into our budgets a whole lot. We did just recently add an increase in our Microsoft tools that we use last week with Skyward. They do a great job managing our network, but it's an increasing cost that's got to be addressed at the state level. So just worthy of tying all the conversations together.
Okay. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next, we move to resignations.
Yes, we have two resignations. They kind of came to us as people had life circumstances that have pulled them away from Raymond. So we certainly miss these two individuals. Ms. Jacobson was our building sub, had a beautiful baby boy, and we'll be staying home with him. So we're excited for her, sad to see her go. In the meantime, we did have Sam, Mr. I, who has been serving as our building sub, and he'll be maintaining those duties as building sub for the rest of the year. And then Ms. Julia Childers, wonderful family and student here in the community, and did a great job working for us as a paraprofessional while she was in school to be a teacher, and she is currently student teaching. So she had to let go of her position she had here. We certainly wish her the best and thank them for their service to our school district. So just looking for the board to accept those two resignations.
Is there a motion to accept?
Motion to approve the resignations of Miss Julia Childers, paraprofessional, and Miss Alyssa Jacobson, building substitute. We wish Julia the best of luck in student teaching and Alyssa the best of luck as she takes time to stay home with her baby boy. We thank them for their service to the Raymond School District and our families.
I'll second.
So we have a motion and second to approve the resignations of Miss Julia Childers and Miss Alyssa Jacobson. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I also want to point out, you'll notice that neither of these jobs will be posted because, as I mentioned, Mr. I is still with us as our building sub, and Ms. Childers' position has been reallocated and based on student needs. We worked with our pupil services director, Ms. Wagner, and we are not going to be extending anyone else a contract in the position, so it will be a cut position based on student need.
Okay, we move on to committee reports. No committee meetings this month, okay. Administrative reports, Mr. Leach.
As if I hadn't said enough tonight, there we go. Things are great. We're working through our school year here. I was just saying before, you may have caught on my mic, I said crazy because the school year is just flying. Second semester is fast approaching. It's just exciting to know, we're moving this place along really well. Today we had a professional development day. I want to thank our staff for just the tremendous passion and fun. We had some fun today. It was good to have conversations and take a moment to pause. little work time in there, some important topics that I'm sure I don't want to steal the thunder of as I'm catching the "don't steal my thunder" vibe from the table over there. But just good conversations, which is wonderful. And again, our front office is working steadfast as Patty's time is winding toward her retirement here and wrapping up as we speak. We've been really working hard, as you saw with Pete, getting a lot of those controls and things in the office put in place, working through our systems, trying to make sure we're training and cross-training, because a small district needs to have those points of cross-training in an office setting. So we're working through those things, and I thank Pete for his service so far. He's just getting started. He's really enjoying retirement. It's quite wonderful. Yes. 1 week on a cruise was good, but maybe could have gotten a second one. But so again, we're just working through some of those systems and everything. And I just want to say thanks for the start so far. That's my report.
Next up
Okay.
is Mrs. Marty.
Can you hear me? Yes. As Mike mentioned, we had professional development day today, so some of us have been here a really long time today. The teachers, I think it went very well. They worked on using elements of the Universal Design for Learning framework. This framework provides various methods of engagement, representation, and expression for make all of our students successful. And they also, this is the part they really loved, learned about AI tools which can help them provide robust lesson plan options for students. So Zoe had gone to the Slate conference, and some of us had experimented with it. Mike had brought some information, but she really got some good information, and teachers were actually able to use. There's some AI that's geared towards teachers, and so it was really kind of neat. We also did some professional learning community work, item analysis on classroom or standardized tests, kind of trying to see if a kid didn't learn something, what do we need to do differently next time. Okay, we also had some stop the bleed training on how to use a tourniquet from the Sheriff's Department. So we're getting our safety training a little more up to speed, thanks to Rebecca. We are about to begin piloting our third set of social studies curriculum. We're going with Studies Weekly for elementary, and then TCI for 6th through 8th, which is what they use at Union Grove Elementary as well as Yorkville. So that's all I've got for tonight.
Thank you. Mrs. Brockman.
Okay, so Dana mentioned that we had our professional development today, but I also just want to take a moment and thank the staff, the board on behalf of the staff, because they provided lunch for all of us today. And it was not your run-of-the-mill lunch. It was Audrey's catering personally, and it was very, very much appreciated and very much over the top. So we want to make sure we say thank you for that. I also am excited that Mrs. Klein is planning a kindness week in February. So at the February board meeting, I'll be able to update you on all of the details of that, but we're looking forward to that coming up. We just finished this year's spelling bee, so thanks to Mrs. Fueling for organizing that, featuring our top spellers in 3rd through 8th grade. It was very close at the end, but I want to wish a congratulations to 8th grader Devin Krause for taking 1st place. He will move on to represent Raymond in the statewide bee. Mr. Wolf has been helping us host and we're going to host our first Blizzard Blast Assembly next Friday, where we're going to recognize all of our extracurricular activities, school athletes, some of our positive behavior initiatives. It's a really fun, engaging assembly. We're going to do quick 30 minutes, but it's a good time. So I'm looking forward to that. And believe it or not, we are already thinking about planning our 8th grade graduation. So an email went out today. We're going to have our first planning meeting on February 17th, just before our next board meeting. We also have a lot of really big events that are coming up. It's kind of nice in the beginning of January. You feel like things slow down in the building, the holidays are over, and then all of a sudden it starts to ramp up really quickly. So our big one is this Saturday, donkey basketball, 7 p.m. We'll have 4 teams competing. If you've seen it in the past, it is exactly what it sounds like. It is literal people riding donkeys and playing basketball in the gym. It's a great fundraiser. So we'll have 4 teams, the Raymond staff, alumni, the fire department, and then the sheriff's department. New this year, we have a shuttle from Town Hall, so thanks to Pete Kempen for donating his time on that. And there'll be a Kiss the Donkey contest. Thank you to Mrs. Rodriguez and Mrs. Walsh and Miss Mike Leichuk. They've all volunteered to kiss a donkey. And the winner of the Penny War, which unfortunately is me right now, will be the one to actually kiss the donkey, but we'll see how that pans out towards the end of this week. There'll also be a bake sale and concessions and a 50-50 drawing. It is open to the public. There's a QR code if you go on our Facebook page to get tickets for that ahead of time, or you can buy tickets at the door. PTO movie night is January 31st, featuring Inside Out 2. That takes place here in the gym. The doors open at 5:30 and the movie starts at 6. Again, open to the community. Please join us. PTO is planning a Valentine's Day carnival for kindergarten through 5th graders on Valentine's Day, February 14th, with some rotations throughout the day. There is a sign up if any community members want to come in and volunteer for that. We would welcome you to do so. And I'm very excited to announce that the PTO PAC is bringing back what used to be known as our spaghetti dinner fundraiser, but they're going to switch things up this year. They're calling it Party with the PAC. It is on April 6th from noon to 4. And instead of spaghetti, they're gonna have some barbecue catered food this year. 50-50 raffle. We just talked to teachers today about putting together their famous baskets that the classrooms do every year for the live auction. We're bringing back the pie auction. So that's going to be a big event. We'll need lots of volunteers, so we'll be asking for help with that as well. But that is, again, April 6th from noon to 4, so you should mark your calendars for that big fundraiser. And then I will always end by telling everybody our senior breakfast is Wednesday, February 5th at 8:30 in the cafe. So kind of a quiet month, but definitely going to get busier as the days go on.
Thank you, Mrs. Brecken. We move on to board member comments.
Nothing?
Well, I attended my first senior breakfast this last month. It was actually a good time. Got to meet a lot of people. People questioned me about being old enough, of course, but I am a grandparent, so I was here supporting. My wife really appreciated the gift that she got from the children, the little snowman can thing. She loves it. It was sitting on our stove, kitchen stove. We looked at it every day. She loved it and didn't even want to put it away. So that'll be a new fixture on my house every year. What was the other thing? There was one other thing I wanted to thank everyone for. Now I forgot it. I was all worried about the snowman now, and I forgot what else I wanted to say. Let me think about it for a minute. I'll let Audrey or whoever finish up. There's something.
I think that's what qualifies you for the senior breakfast.
Yeah, my memory hasn't been going lately. I have forgotten a lot.
Forgetful, it's okay.
You know, I got this convention workshop thing on my head and worried about that, but it's just, I'm looking forward to the donkey basketball, but I hope to see videos and stuff because I will not be able to attend. I am sorry, but I have a prior commitment to another thing that I do that day. So I'm gonna think about this thing. I gotta remember because it was important and now I forgot about it.
Mike, you know, it's just me and you.
Yep. I've been told I gotta bring my
Big-
shovel.
Big shovels.
Big shovels.
Yeah, okay.
The big
And
donkeys.
hazmat suits.
Yeah, yeah.
Or little
You're
donkeys.
actually clown hair too. I'll show you.
I've chosen
pictures.
to not
I'll
ride a
show
donkey
you.
because that would be cruel
I
and
have all
unusual
the pictures
punishment.
to show you what you're living up to. So Mike and Audrey, are you the two attending convention as well? Like, yep, Mr. Leach and Pete are also attending. So thank you. I know that's a time commitment and an investment to do that. Thanks for participating in that. And then also, where is Rebecca's penny jar? So that we
Don't worry about it. It's getting pretty Don't you even worry about where it is. I can show you the other 3 I know.
Anyone else?
I was just trying to give Mike time to think of his thing, so.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
like-
I'm just going to mimic you a little bit and just say, I'm looking forward to the convention. They offer up a lot of sessions with great education for board members and ideas to bring back to the school. So looking forward to that. not cold, but looking forward to it. Parking downtown Milwaukee is not fun, but we don't have snow like we did last year to deal with limited parking spaces. And that's all I have. And if there's nothing else, any announcements or correspondence, Mr. Leach, that we need to be aware of?
I think just recognizing we've got a school board election in April along with the referendum question. So April 1st, we have 3 board member positions and 3 candidates who have stepped into interest on the ballot. So we've got 3 positions, 2 are for 3-year positions, and 1 is for 1 year. The vote getter that has the least number of votes receives the 1-year position. So the way it will work, we've got the 3, Mike Powers, yours truly incumbent, and then Jennifer Gonzalez in the back, so thank you for coming, and Keith Cassinson also in the back, thanks for coming. So they're on the ballot for the 3 positions, and we look forward to holding the election, so making the announcements and following all that good stuff. So thank you for your candidacy.
Okay, so we move to the schedule of our future board meetings. We have a board workshop for Monday, February 3rd at 5:30 p.m. and our next regular board meeting will be Monday, February 17th at 6:30 p.m. And that concludes our meeting for tonight. So is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Meeting adjourned, 8:10. Thank you for coming.